The voice on his phone was breaking. Neka Okoli pushed open the door to room 1207, the private recovery suite she was certain her patient chart indicated, and froze. The man sitting on the edge of the hospital bed wasn't injured, wasn't sick. He was crying, not the quiet, dignified tears of someone in physical pain. The raw, ugly sobbing of someone whose soul was being torn apart. His expensive suit jacket was discarded on the floor. His perfectly styled hair was disheveled from running his hands through it. And his phone was pressed to his ear, playing a voice message on repeat. Young, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is goodbye. The man's shoulders shook violently. A sound escaped him, half sob, half scream, that was so raw it made Neka's chest ache. Then he looked up. His face was a mess. Red eyes, tear-streaked cheeks, snot he hadn't bothered wiping away. But even devastated, even broken, he was stunning. Sharp features, intense eyes, the kind of face that belonged on billboards. Those eyes locked onto hers, and everything changed. The vulnerability vanished, replaced by something cold, calculating, absolutely terrifying. Who are you? His voice was both deadly and calm despite the tears still wet on his face. And how much will it cost to make you forget you saw this? Neka's instinct screamed at her to apologize and run, but 27 years of life, 6 of them as a surgical nurse who'd seen everything, kept her rooted. I'm your nurse. She lied, her accent thick with fear. I was just checking. I don't have a nurse. This is a private wing. No one is supposed to be here. He stood, and she realized how tall he was, how much space he commanded. I'll ask you again. Who are you? You? And Neka Okoli realized she'd just made the worst mistake of her life. Hey besties, if you're enjoying Soul Heart Stories, kindly hit that subscribe button right now, before you forget, because the twists in this story will leave you absolutely shook. Now, let's get back to it. Because what Shin Jae-hyuk does to ensure Neka's silence will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about keeping secrets. Shin Jae-hyuk was 34 years old and hadn't cried in front of another human being since he was 8. That was when his father beat him bloody for showing emotion at his mother's funeral. Shin men don't cry, his father said while Jae-hyuk's nose bled onto the marble floor. Weakness is death in our world. Remember that. He remembered. He became exactly what his father demanded, the Iron Prince of Korean business. Cold, calculating, untouchable. By 25, he was running 3 of his family's subsidiary companies. By 30, he was being groomed to take over the entire Shinseong Group empire, one of Korea's 3 largest Chaebols. He was perfect, controlled. The man everyone feared and admired in equal measure. Until his younger brother Minjun broke. Minjun was different, sensitive, creative, everything their father hated. At 19, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. At 21, after a manic episode that embarrassed the family at a public event, their father had him institutionalized. For his own good, father said, and for the family's protection. Jae-hyuk didn't fight it, didn't protest. He let them lock his brother away in a private facility where no scandal could touch the Shin name. He told himself it was necessary, that Minjun needed help, that this was best for everyone. He believed the lie for 6 years. Until tonight, when Minjun left him a voicemail, a goodbye, an apology, and then swallowed a bottle of pills. The hospital called Jae-hyuk first, not their father, said Minjun was stable, they'd pumped his stomach, he'd survive. But Jae-hyuk needed to come immediately. He'd driven to the hospital, this private, exclusive facility his family owned where rich people hid their problems. He'd gone to the empty private wing where no one would see him, and he'd finally let himself break. For 6 years, he'd ignored his guilt. Tonight, it swallowed him whole. He'd been crying for 20 minutes when the door opened. Neka should have run the moment he asked who she was. Instead, she found herself explaining, voice shaking, that she was a surgical nurse, that she'd been covering for a colleague, that the room assignments got mixed up, that she didn't mean to intrude. I'll forget I saw anything, she said quickly, backing toward the door. I promise.
Stop.
I won't tell anyone. Stop.
Do you know who
His
I
command
am?
froze her in place. Do you know who I am? She shook her head. Shin Jae-hyuk, heir to Shin Sung Group, third largest Chaebol in Korea. He moved closer, and Neka's back hit the door. You just saw me, the Iron Prince, who never shows weakness, sobbing like a child. Do you understand what that information is worth? I don't care about your money. Everyone cares about money. He was close enough now that she could see his eyes were bloodshot, his pupils dilated with panic, barely controlled. If my competitors knew I was this weak, this broken, they'd destroy me. My father would disown me. Everything I've built would collapse. Then I'll sign something, an NDA. Whatever you need, NDAs can be broken. His hand came up to the door beside her head, caging her in. Money can convince anyone to talk. I need something more permanent. Terror shot through her. Are you going to kill me? His expression seemed to flicker with surprise, or maybe disgust. No, I'm not a monster, despite what you might think. He stepped back, ran a hand through his hair. But I can't let you leave my life completely. Can't risk you talking someday when you're desperate for money or attention. So what do you want? He studied her for a long moment. Neka could see his mind working, calculating, planning. What's your name? Neka. Neka Okoli. Nigerian? Yes. Family back home? My mother. 2 younger brothers. Neka's voice cracked. Please don't hurt them. I told you, I'm not a monster. But his tone suggested he was considering becoming one. What would it take to buy your silence, Neka Okoli? What do you want badly enough to keep my secret forever? She wanted to say nothing, wanted to tell him she wasn't for sale. But she thought about her mother's medical bills, the breast cancer that was draining every penny, the treatments Neka was sending money for but still weren't enough. The constant fear that she'd lose her mother because they couldn't afford to save her. My mother is sick, she heard herself say. Cancer. The treatments are expensive and She stopped, hating how vulnerable this made her. Jae-hyuk's expression shifted. How much? What? How much to save her? Neka's throat closed. 50 million naira, about $75,000. Done. He pulled out his phone. I'll wire the money tonight. In exchange, you sign a contract guaranteeing your silence. It felt too easy, too clean. What's the catch? Neka whispered. Jae-hyuk looked at her, then really looked at her, and she saw the exact moment he decided to ruin her life. The catch, he said slowly, is that you'll marry me. Neka laughed. She couldn't help it. You're insane. Probably. He wasn't smiling. But I'm also serious. Think about it, if we're married, you have a legal and personal reason to keep my secrets. You're not just a random nurse I paid off. You're my wife, my partner, someone whose reputation is tied to mine. You'd never betray me because it would destroy you too. That's insane, Neka repeated, but her voice was weaker now. It's insurance. He started pacing, the businessman in him taking over. 1 year. We get married, maintain the pressed appearance of a real relationship, convince my family and the public it's legitimate. After 1 year, we quietly divorce. You get your mother's medical bills paid, plus a settlement, let's say another $100,000 for your trouble. You walk away free with enough money to build whatever life you want. And if I refuse? His expression went cold. Then I'll use every resource I have to ensure you never work in medicine again. Not just in Korea, anywhere. I'll have you deported for visa violations. I'll manufacture. I'll make sure your family in Nigeria suffers financially for your refusal to cooperate. The threat was delivered calmly, matter-of-factly, which made it more terrifying. You said you weren't a monster. Neka's voice shook with fury and fear. I'm not. I'm a survivor. He moved closer again. And I'm giving you a choice. Marry me and save your mother, or refuse and watch everything you love collapse. It's not a good choice, but it's the only one you're getting. Neka felt tears burn her eyes. This is evil. This is business. but something in his expression softened slightly. I'm not asking you to love me. Not asking for anything beyond the public performance. Separate bedrooms. Separate lives outside of appearances. Just help me protect what's left of my humanity. That's all I'm asking. By trapping me in a fake marriage? By giving us both what we need? He extended his hand. 1 year of your life, Neka, in exchange for your mother's life. That's the deal. She looked at his hand, at his face still beautiful despite the tear stains, despite the cruelty in his words, at the door behind her that represented freedom and her mother's death sentence. Neka thought about her mother's last call, the pain in her voice, the way she'd tried to hide how bad it was getting. She took his hand. 1 year, she whispered. Then you let me go. 1 year, he agreed. Neither of them mentioned that. Some cages are easier to enter than to leave. The wedding happened so fast. Neka barely processed it. 3 weeks. That's all the time between signing his contract and standing in a private ceremony wearing a hanbok she didn't choose, marrying a man she didn't know, with a smile plastered on her face that felt like it might crack. Jae-hyuk's family attended his father, a man with eyes like winter who looked at Neka once and dismissed her. His aunt, who asked invasive questions about her background and intentions. Various cousins and business associates who clearly wondered why the Iron Prince was marrying a Nigerian nurse nobody had heard of. The story Jae-hyuk told was romantic fiction. They'd met when she treated him for a minor injury. He'd been captivated by her compassion and beauty. She'd been charmed by his rare moments of vulnerability. It was love at first sight. The lie was so smooth, so practiced, that Neka almost believed it herself. You're a good actress, Jae-hyuk murmured during the reception, his arm around her waist for the cameras. I'm a good liar, Neka corrected quietly. There's a difference. Is there? His thumb traced circles on her hip, a gesture that looked affectionate but felt possessive. Because you're selling this beautifully. I'm thinking about my mother, who was already in better treatment, already getting stronger thanks to the money Jae-hyuk transferred the night they made their deal. That's the only reason I can smile right now. Whatever works. He leaned in, pressing a kiss to her temple that made the guests coo. Against her ear, he whispered, just remember we're in this for 1 year. Make it convincing, and you'll walk away rich and free. Fight me, and I'll make every day feel like a decade. The threat was delivered with a smile bright enough for the cameras. That night, he brought her to his penthouse, a sprawling space that overlooked all of Seoul, decorated in cold, minimalist style that matched its owner perfectly. Your room. He opened a door to reveal a beautiful bedroom, ensuite bathroom, walk-in closet already stocked with clothes. You'll have a card for expenses within reason, and a schedule of events you're required to attend with me. Required? Neka repeated flatly. You're my wife now. Certain appearances are mandatory. He checked his watch. I have an early meeting. Don't wait up. We just got married. A business arrangement, not a romance. He loosened his tie, suddenly looking exhausted. I'll maintain the fiction in public. In private, let's not pretend this is something it isn't. He left her standing there, alone in her beautiful prison, wondering how her life became unrecognizable in less than a month. The first month of marriage was psychological warfare wrapped in expensive gifts. Jae-hyuk was never cruel, exactly, but he was cold, distant. They'd have breakfast in silence when his schedule allowed. He'd come home late, pour whiskey, and disappear into his study. The only time he touched her was at public events, his hand on her back, his arm around her waist, kisses on her cheek that looked loving and felt like strategy. You flinched, he'd say after events, when I kissed you. The photographers noticed. Maybe if you actually spoke to me at home, I wouldn't be surprised when you touch me in public. This isn't a real marriage, Neka. The sooner you accept that, the easier this year will be. But then, cracks started showing in his armor. She'd hear him late at night, on the phone with someone, his voice low. Devastated. She'd find him on the balcony at dawn, staring at nothing, his expression hollow. And once, she found him in his study, that same voicemail playing on repeat. "Hyung, I can't do this anymore." "Stop listening," he said without turning around, somehow knowing she was there. "Is that your brother?" Neka asked, quietly. His shoulders tensed. "None of your business. I'm your wife. You're an employee." He turned, and his eyes were cold. Don't confuse the contract for intimacy. But, despite his cruelty, Neka found herself unable to ignore his pain. The nurse in her, the caregiver who couldn't watch someone suffer, kept pushing through his walls. "Talk to me," she'd say. "No, let me help." "You can't." Until one night, 2 months into their marriage, when she found him in the kitchen at 3 a.m., hands shaking so badly he couldn't open his medication bottle. "Give it to me." Neka took the bottle gently. "I'm fine. You're having a panic attack." She read the label anti-anxiety medication. "How long have you had these?" "Since I was a child." The admission seemed to cost him. "They come when the pressure gets too much." Neka opened the bottle, handed him a pill, got him water, sat beside him at the kitchen island and counted breaths with him until his hands stopped shaking. "Why?" he asked finally, his voice raw. "Why do you keep trying to help me when I've been nothing but cruel to you?" "Because you're suffering," she met his eyes, "and I can't watch someone suffer without trying to ease it. Even if that person trapped me in a fake marriage." Something broke in his expression. "I'm sorry. For all of this. For threatening you. For trapping you. He stopped, struggled. "I just didn't know what else to do. And I'm so tired of being alone with this weight." "Then stop being alone." Neka's hand covered his. "I'm here, trapped or not. Might as well use me for more than photo opportunities." He laughed, bitter but real. "You're too kind for your own good. And you're too broken to see that kindness isn't weakness." Things shifted after that night. Jae-hyuk started talking to her. Small things at first about work stress, family pressure, the exhaustion of being perfect. Then bigger things, about his mother's death, his father's brutality, the way he learned to freeze out all emotion just to survive. And finally, about Minjun. "He wasn't crazy," Jae-hyuk said one evening. "They were having dinner together, actually together, not silent strangers sharing space. He had bipolar disorder, yes, but he was managing it. With medication, with therapy, he was functional, happy even. So why did your father institutionalize him?" "Because, during a manic episode, Minjun stood up at a board meeting and called our father a tyrant, said the family business was built on exploitation and corruption. He wasn't wrong, but he was loud about it, public, embarrassing." Jae-hyuk's jaw clenched. Father couldn't have that. So he used Minjun's diagnosis as an excuse. Said he was too unstable to be trusted. Had him committed before I could stop it. "And you didn't fight back?" "I thought," his voice broke, "I thought father was right. That Minjun needed more help than we could give him. That the facility would be better. I trusted father's judgment over my own instincts. And now my brother tried to kill himself because I abandoned him." Neka's chest ached. "You didn't abandon him. You were manipulated. I let myself be manipulated." Jae-hyuk stood abruptly, pacing. "Because it was easier than standing up to father. Easier than admitting our family is rotten at its core. I chose my inheritance over my brother, and now," he stopped, his breathing ragged. "Can I meet him?" Neka asked softly. Jae-hyuk turned, surprised. "Why?" "Because I'm a nurse. Because I understand mental health. And because maybe he needs to know he's not alone. That someone sees him. You don't have to. I want to." She stood, moved closer. "We're stuck in this arrangement for another 10 months. Might as well make some good come from it." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Tomorrow, I'll take you to see him tomorrow." The facility was beautiful and terrible, expensive, private, a gilded cage for rich people's problems. Minjun was 27 but looked younger, thin, hollow-eyed. But when he saw his brother, Something lit up in his expression, hope mixed with wariness. Hyung. His voice was soft. You came. I should have come months ago. Jae-hyuk's voice was rough with guilt. Min-jun, this is, he hesitated. This is Neka, my wife. Min-jun's eyes widened. You got married? You never told me. I'm sorry. Everything happened fast. He's ashamed of me, Min-jun said to Neka, with heartbreaking honesty. Doesn't want me embarrassing his wife the way I embarrassed the family. That's not true, Jae-hyuk started. He's not ashamed, Neka interrupted, sitting across from Min-jun. He's terrified. There's a difference. He thought he was protecting you by staying away. Turns out, he was just protecting himself from feeling guilty. Both brothers stared at her. But guilt is good, Neka continued. It means you care. Means you recognize you made mistakes. And mistakes can be fixed if you're brave enough. Visiting Min-jun became a weekly routine. Neka would bring him books, music, news from the outside world his family kept him isolated from. She'd talk to his doctors, ask questions, advocate for better treatment. And slowly, Min-jun started improving, not because the facility was helping, but because someone finally saw him as human instead of liability. You're good with him, Jae-hyuk said after one visit. They were in his car, driving back to Seoul. Better than I ever was. You were taught to see his illness as weakness. I was taught to see it as something that needs management, not shame. Neka looked over at him. He could live outside that facility. With proper medication and support, Father would never allow it. Your father is the problem. The words came out sharper than intended. Not Min-jun. Not you. Your father, who beats compassion out of his children and calls it strength. Jae-hyuk pulled the car over abruptly. Don't, his voice was shaking. Don't make me see him clearly, because if I acknowledge what he really is, I'll have to decide whether to keep serving him or destroy everything. Maybe destroying everything is exactly what you need to do. Easy for you to say, it's not your legacy, your family name, your responsibility. No, it's just my life you trapped to protect all that. Neka's anger finally spilled over. You want to talk about responsibility? You forced me into a fake marriage, threatened my family, isolated me from my career, all to protect a legacy built on cruelty. So don't ask me to pity you for having hard choices. The silence in the car was deafening. Finally, Jae-hyuk spoke. You're right. About all of it. I've been so focused on protecting my prison that I forgot I'm the one with the key. He turned to face her. What if I used that key? Walked away from Father, from Shin Seong, from all of it. Then what? Then I'd be free. Poor, probably. Disowned, definitely, but free. His hand found hers. We could both be free. We have a contract that I'm offering to void. Right now. His grip tightened. Stay married to me, Neka. Not because of threats or debt, but because, he stopped, vulnerability flooding his face. Because somewhere in this nightmare, I fell in love with you. And I don't want to lose you when the year ends. Neka's breath caught. You can't love me. You don't even know me. I know you're kind when you should be cruel, strong when you should be broken, that you see humanity in people everyone else has written off, that you make me want to be better than what my father made me. He cupped her face with shaking hands. I know I don't deserve you. No, I've hurt you, but I'm asking anyway. Give me a real chance. Let me prove I can be worthy of you. Jae-hyuk. And if you can't love me back, then we end this. I'll void the contract, give you the settlement, set you free. No threats, no manipulation. Just tell me honestly, is there any chance you could feel something for me beyond anger? Neka wanted to say no, wanted to protect herself from this complicated, damaged man who'd trapped her in a gilded cage. But she thought about the past months, the late-night conversations, the way he looked at his brother with guilt and love tangled together, the panic attacks he let her help him through, the slow transformation from ice prince to something raw and human. I'm furious with you, she said honestly. for trapping me, for threatening my family, for making me fall for you while pretending this was just business." His expression shattered. "So that's your answer?" "I'm not finished." She grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. "I'm furious, but I'm also the confession was terrifying. I'm also in love with you, with who you're becoming, with the man who cries for his brother and fights to be better than his father. And I hate that I love you because it means you've trapped me in a different kind of cage. Then I'll break the cage." He kissed her desperate and gentle, and nothing like the performance kisses for Enid. "Cameras. We'll leave. Tonight. Take Min-jun and disappear. Start over somewhere your father's power doesn't reach. You'd give up everything?" "I'd give up anything to keep you." He pressed his forehead to hers. "You make me feel human, Neka. After decades of being a machine. That's worth more than all the money in Korea. Your father will come after us. Let him try." There was steel in Jae-hyuk's voice now. "I've spent my entire life being afraid of him. But I'm more afraid of losing you. Of becoming him. Of looking back in 30 years and realizing I chose power over love." Neka kissed him again, making her choice. That night, they didn't go back to the penthouse. They went to the facility, checked Min-jun out against the staff's protests, and drove to the airport with 3 tickets to Lagos. "Are you sure?" Neka asked as they waited to board. "This is your whole life you're leaving." "My whole life was a prison." Jae-hyuk's arm was around her waist, Min-jun sleeping against his other shoulder. "This is freedom. Scary as hell, but freedom. What will we do in Nigeria?" "Whatever we want." He smiled, real and unguarded. "You'll open that clinic you always dreamed about. I'll figure out who I am when I'm not performing for cameras. Min-jun will heal somewhere people don't treat him like a scandal. We'll build something real. On what money? You just abandoned your inheritance. I have offshore accounts father doesn't know about. Enough for us to start over." He kissed her forehead. "And whatever we build together, as partners. No more contracts, no more threats, just us." 6 months later, Neka stood in her new clinic in Lagos, watching patients file through doors that existed because of her dream, and Jae-hyuk's money working together. Jae-hyuk leaned against the doorway, looking relaxed in a way he never did in Seoul. Happy? Exhausted. But yes. She crossed to him, his arms immediately wrapping around her. "Are you happy? No regrets about leaving?" "My father disowned me. My family pretends I don't exist. Every business contact I had won't return my calls." He smiled against her hair. "Best decisions I ever made." Liar. "Okay, second best." He pulled back to look at her properly. "Best decision was crying in that hospital room, where a stubborn Nigerian nurse refused to let me suffer alone. I walked into the wrong room. You walked into exactly the right room." His kiss was soft, full of promise. "You saved me, Neka. Not by keeping my secret, by showing me that being human isn't weakness, it's the only thing that matters." Min-jun appeared from the clinic, looking healthier than Neka ever saw him in Korea. "Hyung, there's a patient asking for you. Says she remembers you from some charity event years ago." Jae-hyuk groaned. "My past is haunting me." "Your past made you who you are." Neka pushed him toward the clinic. "Now go be useful. These patients don't care if you're a disgraced Chaebol heir. They just care if you can help." Watching him disappear into the clinic, this man who gave up everything to choose love over legacy, Neka, realized something profound. Sometimes the worst moments of your life, walking into the wrong room, witnessing someone's breakdown, getting trapped in a fake marriage, are actually the universe's way of putting you exactly where you need to be, with exactly who you need to be with. She'd thought he trapped her. Turns out, they freed each other. 1 year after fleeing Korea, Neka woke to find Jae-hyuk watching her with that expression she'd learned meant he was feeling vulnerable. "What?" she murmured sleepily. "I never apologized. Not properly. For threatening you. For trapping you. For making you marry me out of fear instead of choice. We've been through this. I know. But I need to say it again. I'm sorry, Neka. For everything. He took her hand. So, I'm asking now. Properly. No contracts. No threats. No desperation. Just. He pulled out a ring. Simple. Beautiful. Nothing like the expensive band he'd given her for their fake wedding. Will you marry me? For real this time? Because I love you and want to spend my life with you? Neka laughed through tears. We're already married, you idiot. That was a business transaction. This is a proposal. He slipped the ring on her finger beside the fake wedding band she'd never taken off. Please, give me the chance to do this right. Yes, she pulled him close. Yes to all of it. To real marriage. To real love. To real partnership. No regrets? Only that it took you falling apart for us to find each other. Same. He kissed her softly. But I'd fall apart 1,000 times if it meant ending up here. With you. Free. Besties. If this story grabbed you, if you felt every moment of fear and transformation, smash that like button. Subscribe for more intense dark romance that'll make you feel everything. Comment. Would you have married him? Or would you have taken your chances refusing? I need to know what you think, because this story lives in complicated moral space. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me tell you stories about broken people finding healing in each other. Until next time, remember that sometimes getting trapped is the first step to freedom, and sometimes the person who seems most dangerous is actually the one who'll save you. Welcome to Soul Heart Stories.